Hello, my name is Joe, and I wanted to put together this quick little video on how to remove skin moles and just giving you some advice and some things to look out for and some things to be cautious about. Before we do that, let me just kind of go through the idea of how we get moles and where they come from. The majority of moles appear during the first 2 decades of our life. So in your first 20 years, you're generally going to have all the moles that you ever have in your lifetime. And some of them, as you get older, will just naturally disappear, but that's not the case for all of them. Um, Actually, 1 in 100 babies I found were born with moles. So it's a very common thing. It's a very common I don't want to call it a birth defect, but it's a common effect, if you will, that happens at birth. And moles are actually a type of skin lesion that are formed of a cell known as melanocyte. And so that's just some of the basics about moles, how we get them. Nobody really knows why they're formed per se, but we know that they appear in the first 2 decades, and that 1 in every 100 babies is born with moles. So, how do moles affect us, though? So, if we have moles, how do they affect us? Well, there's actually two main ways that moles affect us that I have seen, and this is coming from somebody who has moles and has had some that are worse than others, but has had moles in his life. And first off, they can be more than just something that affects our skin. They can actually affect your self-esteem or self-confidence. If you have a big mole on your face or something that's visible to your friends or people around you, not everybody is as kind as maybe your parents or your friends would be, and might make fun of you. And I'm talking about whether you're a youth or even as an adult. Sometimes this carries on when you're an adult as well. So they can be very embarrassing, especially if they're large and visible, specifically on your face or maybe a neck area and whatnot. But again, sometimes you get so embarrassed you don't want to be around friends, you don't want to be around people because you're embarrassed by this mark on your face or on your neck or on your hands or wherever it may be. And so therefore it could actually affect your social life, which is never good. Right? But moles actually bring more than just low self-esteem. And this is something that I learned when I believe I was about 23, 24, and I know it sounds naive, but I didn't know this about moles, but some moles actually may be cancerous. Now, I don't want to scare everybody because most moles are actually benign. They're non-cancerous, but some moles are cancerous or turn into and become cancerous. And so some of the things you want to look out for, and if moles might become a concern for you if they look different than the other moles that you have. If all of them are pretty consistent, but you have one that looks really, really different, that's something you might want to have your doctor check out. Um, Especially if moles appear after those first 2 decades, after you turn 20. And then if they change color, and that's my specific thing, one of the things that happened to me, but if they change color or even appearance, and that could be they get larger, they just start forming a different shape or whatnot, and then if they start to become painful. Really quick, I had a mole on my face. It's a fairly small one, really wasn't too self-conscious about it. It got made fun of a little bit when I was a kid, but not really a big deal. So I really never had it removed, didn't worry too much about it. But that wasn't my only mole. I actually had a fairly good sized mole on my lower back. And again, didn't really ever worry too much about it until I got married. After I got married, my wife said, "Hey, your mole has changed color and it's gotten a lot bigger, and maybe you should have it checked out." And she did a little research on the internet and found that moles can actually, when it does start to change color and get a little bit bigger, that's a sign that it may be cancerous. So I became a little concerned with that and decided to go have it checked out. So I went to the doctor to have it checked out. They looked at it, and here are some of my symptoms. It had gotten quite a bit bigger. It had changed several shades of color, and it was actually, the one mole was the same, was multiple shades of color. And then it also started to become very painful to me. I'd put on my pants or something like that, or a shirt would rub against it and it'd be really painful for me. And so I went and got it checked out. So they did some tests to see if it was cancerous. Now, thank goodness in my case that it wasn't cancerous. Feel very fortunate that it was not. Not everybody can say that, but those were some of the symptoms that I started looking for. And so I went in, checked it out with the doctor, and then had it removed. Now, the only problem with that is that it's a very expensive process if you've ever gone through it, to come in and have it surgically removed. And so I did that, but had many other moles, and so didn't really want to have to pay to have every single one of my moles removed. So I started looking for different ways to remove my moles so I wouldn't have to pay for that. And I'll get to that in just a second. Now, I just wanted to go through this process, though, and give you some of the other signs that a mole may be cancerous. Because before we get into some alternative ways to get rid of your moles, it's important that you understand whether you should be concerned about your mole or not. So, I mean, if your moles are on your chest or on your back and they're not as visible and you're not too ashamed by them, or they're not embarrassing, maybe you don't need to worry about them. But if they are cancerous, obviously you want to get rid of them, so this might be helpful. Now, this comes from WebMD, so I thought this might be beneficial or useful for you. They call it the ABCDEs of skin moles. And the first one was the asymmetry. So if one half of the mole does not match the other, that's problematic. Okay, so if you've got one part of it that's maybe small and the other that's really big, that's problematic and maybe a sign that it's cancerous. The border or the edges around your mole, if they're ragged or blurred or just irregular, they don't look natural. I mean, maybe we can say that all moles aren't natural, but if you have a mole, you understand what I'm talking about. The C is the color. The mole has different colors or shades. Like I said with mine, I had a red and like a purplish color. And kind of a pink as well. And so you want to look out for those things, specifically tan or brown, black, blue, white, and red in those moles. And the diameter of the mole, if the diameter of the mole is larger than the eraser of a pencil, that's something you might be concerned about and need to talk to your doctor about and have them check it out. And then finally, the elevation. If the mole appears elevated or raised from your skin, that's something else you might want to be concerned with and talk to your doctor about. And that was the case with my mole. You know, I had a lot of these symptoms. The symmetry of it was really weird and off. The border was a little bit ragged, not too bad there. The color definitely changed. The diameter was fairly large, and the elevation, it was definitely raised off my skin and continued to grow and grow and grow. So again, you may have a mole that's on your back or on your chest or somewhere it's not visible, but if it has some of these symptoms, maybe cause for concern, and maybe you need to talk to your doctor, have them check it out, because you do not want that to be cancerous. Now, what do we do, though? I talked about some other ways to get rid of your moles. Well, the only safe way to ensure that your moles aren't cancerous is, of course, to have them removed. And if you're ever concerned, it's better to be safe than sorry, as the adage goes. And so you do want to get them removed, but the problem is that medical solutions are costly. Like I said, if you go get them surgically removed, they're costly. So when I went and got my first mole removed, I said there's got to be other ways to remove these, maybe naturally or some other ways to do so. And I found a natural way to remove skin tags and moles that might be helpful for you. And it's a program for removing moles. And you can see some of the results that people have experienced. These aren't me, pictures of my before and after, because I didn't really think I would need that or ever be sharing this information with anybody. But I thought it might be useful, because as this mole became bigger and larger and actually more painful, I thought maybe there's other people who are dealing with this and might benefit from this information. And so what I wanted to do is put together this little video to kind of show you some of the things that could maybe be of concern, and then the other ways that you can remove it. So I wanted to put together a resource for you that you might be able to go to and get questions and find tips and things that you can do to naturally remove your skin moles or your skin tags. And so I put together a site, or a blog, excuse me, where you can find that information, and you can find that blog at removeskinmoles.org. Okay, and this is just how I removed my moles, and this is how I did it naturally, cost effectively, and safely, which were some of the three important things for me. I wanted to do it naturally, I wanted it not to be too expensive, and then I wanted it to be something that was safe, right? Because obviously surgery is safe, if you will, right? But I also wanted to, if I'm going to do it naturally, I also wanted it to be safe. So go check it out at removeskinmoles.org, and that's just a little blog I put together that hopefully will be helpful for you, and also hopefully this video has been helpful for you. Hopefully, if you ever have skin moles and they've become a problem, then you know how to remove them. So go check out our blog, and thanks for being on with me today.